And we are live. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome along to this session on um, Google Gemini and getting started with it in your teaching or in whatever it is you are doing. This is the first of three sessions, or four sessions, sorry. This is the first. There are three after this that are going to be shared over the next couple of weeks, all about can I just take Susan? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
can hear you fine.
that's
Maybe
fine.
try logging
Okay.
off and joining
Yeah, I
again.
was going to say, Mr. Carver, if you want to just do the age-old IT trick, come back out, come back in, and that's how things should be working. Uh, yeah. So let me just bring up my slides here. So this is the first of four sessions that we're going to do, all about AI in the classroom, sort of Google Gemini and Notebook LM, looking at that to be part of your creative partner, and how you can actually start to use this within your work. My name is Martin Coots. I am an education officer for digital within Education Scotland. And my role is essentially what I'm doing right now is to give you guys the opportunity to build your confidence, increase your awareness, and actually feel like you are able to sort of take care of things as we are going through. So, Susan, can I just get you to give me a reaction? I can actually see you if you want to give me a thumbs up that you can see my screen okay? Yeah, perfect. I am joined on the call by a couple of my Education Scotland colleagues. I have Susan Say, who you've already heard. She is the product manager for Google at Glow. There are other individuals. Danny is in the call as well. They work with us all on the using Glow and sort of developing your confidence as things are coming through. This session is going to be recorded. It will be shared as at the end so that people have this for prosperity and cultural reference and can put it down into the annals of history. I write. It's mostly just so that you guys are able to share this and as you can come through. As you've already seen, there's a few reactions that are popping up. As much as it would be great for me to sort of respond to the chat all the time, I do quite like to use the reaction. The thumbs up is usually what I would ask you to do for yes, and the shocked face or the surprise face is what I would ask you to do for no. It's just when we have a number, we've got 34 on the call, 33 if you don't include my second device. And I think we had 52 registered. It is only 3 minutes past the hour. We know what it's like at the end of the day. There are going to be a lot of people who are probably going to start coming in as we are going through. So that's why there's this little bit of preamble at the start. So, as I say, the aim for these four sessions is to increase your confidence in the use of Google Gemini and Notebook LM. This is something that we are going to do over the next several weeks. We are really want to try and make this as hands-on as possible, give you an opportunity to go away and try something, bring it back, let us know if anything is working, if there's anything that you're struggling with. There are evaluations at the end of each session so that I can then adapt and modify before the next session comes along, so that we're covering the things that you are wanting to cover and ensure that you come away with not just what we think you need to know, but what you are actually looking for and how you're actually going to be using it. And it is all part of a journey. We use all of these tools on a daily basis. Our confidence might be low, our confidence might be intermediate, our confidence might be high, but no one will ever be at expert level. That includes individuals like myself on the call who use these tools, and have to actually show you guys how to use these tools. Expert level is something that we will never ever achieve. It is a journey. We can iterate, we can moderate, we can improve, we can do all of these kind of different things, but we will never get to peak. Why? Because technology is constantly evolving, technology is constantly changing, and that can really make us feel like we are sort of standing still, especially as the way in which we interact with technology changes on a daily basis. We go from using technology for professional purposes to personal purposes to doom scrolling to looking at all of these various things. Plus, the way that our young people use technology is completely different to the way that we use it. And it's also different to the way that we probably, for most of us, grew up as we are coming along. So, as I say, this is a series. There are going to be 4 sessions that are starting today. We've got the creative partner, which is kind of your Gemini basics. I say basics. I'm not going to show you what a prompt is because hopefully we've got an idea of what that will be, but I am going to take you into what a good prompt looks like. Then next week on the 3rd, we have Notebook LM, which is the sort of the pinpoint. It is really your when you take the tools that you have. Google Gemini looks at the entire web, so that's like going in and having the complete vast arrays of knowledge that we have. But then Notebook LM is how you can refine that and only take it for certain documents, certain guidance documents, certain notes, certain text, certain sites, and really narrow it down. There's also another aspect of Google Gemini called Canvas. That's really where we can start to bring things to life a little bit more. We'll look at that in the session on the 17th of February. And then we would be remiss if we didn't talk about the ethics of using AI. What does that actually mean? How can I ensure that I feel comfortable and confident? What should I be doing? What shouldn't I be doing? What could students potentially be doing? What could they lead up to? What does this look like as we are coming through? But for today, we're just going to get going with Gemini Basics. We're going to get an introduction. So by using the thumbs up emoji for yes, I have, and the shocked emoji for no, I haven't, can I just get a kind of an idea who has been using Gemini? Okay, that's great. So a couple of no's, that's absolutely fine. Rona's got a thumbs up. So we've got a right mixture here. That's good. So it means some people will be feeling a bit confident, and maybe it will, or maybe not confident, but certainly know how to get started with it. We will cover all of this as we are looking through. I'm going to use something called the 1-10-60 model. So essentially, I'm going to give you a hook. I'm going to let you see how something can work quite nicely. That's usually done within a minute. And then I'm going to give you a little bit of direct instruction where we are actually going to take a bit of a deeper dive with it. We're going to go into a bit more detail. Um, it says 40 minutes for hands-on. It probably only be around the 20-minute mark, but it does mean that you can go off. That 40 minutes is for you to really have a go at some point. It's not necessarily going to have to be done within this session. And then there's obviously going to be a bit of opportunity at the end for us to reflect and come back. I have a cheat sheet that you can download and take away. I have that available for you to download. All of these links will be shared at the end. But I'm trying this out. I'm going to see how this works. This will be my first time using the 1-10-60. I'm usually a wee bit more happier doing the sort of the more direct hands-on approach, but I'm going to try it this way and see how it works. Might work, might not work, but the content will stay as we look. So my goal for today is to really give you a couple of, oh, right, okay, that I get it. I see where that is. I know what that tool is. I can see how I might use that tool. Remember, none of what we are saying is prescriptive. We are not saying that this is what you need to do, but we are raising your awareness of what you can do. And when you have that awareness, that's when you are then going to be able to put it into practice. Because if you don't know what you can do with it, then you're not necessarily going to be confident in using it. Um, Again, the stuff that we're sharing will be something that you might go aha, and it might be something that you go, okay, that really doesn't apply, but maybe if I tweak it this way, that might fit in a little bit. So let's get started with this. And this is really what we're going to look at today, is kind of mastering this AI prompting. Not necessarily the basics, but what does a good prompt look like? So I'm going to work with something called the Golden Prompt Framework. Okay, and I have found this is working quite well for me. One of the first things I tell Google Gemini is that I am an education technology coach, and most of the time, the content I will have you share will be aimed towards teachers who are getting used to using technology. And once I tell Gemini that, Gemini should remember all of these types of AI tools, they are assistants. They are one step up from the old Microsoft Clippy. right? They are one step up from the kind of the voice assistants that we have within our houses, that we ask to play music, or we ask to turn on the lights, or we ask to let me know what the latest news are. They are one step above. They are nowhere near the level of, you know, Johnny Five from Short Circuit coming to your door and doing a hop. We are not talking about intelligence in the self-awareness. We are talking about something that learns the more you use it. And the more you use it, the better it understands you. One of the other things that I find works extremely well is giving it a context. Actually let it know what I'm doing. I am delivering a lesson on shape, position and movement, and the introduction of trigonometry to a group of S3 pupils in Scotland. They are new to the topic. Give me 3 lesson ideas that I can take away. Right, so something like that as you start to prompt. Ask it clearly. What is it you want it to do? What is it you want it to build? What is it you want to take away from that? And then you give it a constraint, right? You give it a wall, you give it a box to work within. Let it know that this is only for a 40-minute lesson. Let it know that the pupils are brand new to this topic. Let it know that, you know, they are a lower ability class, or there are a mixture of pupils who are struggling with. Give it the constraints so that it doesn't pitch it too high and it doesn't pitch it too low. And if you start to work within this kind of golden prompt, this role, context, task, and constraint, you will start to see the benefit as you are using prompts more and more. And you will also start to see the more context you give it, the more constraints you give it, and the clearer you are with your task. That is really going to help Gemini learn what it is you like. Even sort of going back and saying, I don't like this question, could you tweak that ever so slightly? So one of the other things that how that might actually be in action is something like this, you know, and we'll do this into an example in a second. But essentially, something like, I am a secondary history teacher. I am wanting 5 true or false questions on the Highland clearances for a second, right? And then when you do something like that, and you're asking for these 3 golden prompt framework type of things, it can be a bit clearer. So if we have a look at what that would be within action, it will look something like this. So let's go to my Glow Launchpad. So that should come up. So if you are logging in via Glow, you will see that Susan has created 2 tiles, one called Gemini, one called Notebook LM. If you don't see that within your Launchpad, then just doing a search at the top will bring you that Launchpad up, and then you can add it to your Launchpad. So some local authorities might have this enabled for you. Some of them might not have this enabled yet. If not, another way that you can find Gemini if you are using just your own account, which we don't necessarily recommend, but if you don't have your local authority one just now, is just to go to gemini.google.com. Once you tap on it, it will open up this window. So this is your prompt window, right? So this is where we can enter our prompt. We can upload a file as a reference. These are the tools. You can see we have these sort of quick launch tools down the bottom. We have the ability to use 4 different aspects just now. We have guided learning, which is how you would get an introduction to a topic. So this could be something that's beneficial when you're wanting to see how might I break down the steps within a particular topic. We have deep research. That's where we really want to take a deeper dive into a subject, into a topic, into a bit of information. That's where it will take a little bit longer. It will collate a lot of different aspects. There are create images, which is really the fun aspect. This is where you can generate an image. Obviously, you don't upload images of learners. And Susan will be sharing links to how all of these work from the Glow Connect pages, which will be highly beneficial for you guys to take away. And then you'll also see down the bottom we have Canvas, which is one of the ones that we are going to be looking at as we go through. If I wanted it to create an image, then it can be the level of the level of detail that I want to go with it. So I could ask it to create an image of a logo done as a hand stitch. So something like this. If I just paste this in, let me go back. So again, the bigger the prompt, the better. This is just an example one that I use. That's a bit too much. So I could say a 3D cartoon image of the uploaded photograph with a smiling, happy expression, bright lights focused on the face, something like that. Then again, it would just be a case of uploading a file, but you could just see, let's do a 3D, let's not do it this way, let's say 3D of a bearded, balding man with black glasses. So this is just a prompt that I've entered, getting it to, this is going to be creating an image. So again, I've added in a bit of detail, I've added in as much as possible. There we go, that's not too bad. Okay, not quite a full resemblance, but not too far off either. You can obviously upload an image and make it more accurate, and you could say something to iterate, add some grey to the beard and place him standing at a board in a classroom. There we go. So again, it's going through fast. It's thinking, depending on your depending on the speed of your internet connection, this can go into a bit more detail. And what it will do is it will start to iterate on the image. Now you can do this with a number of, you could do this with a number of different images. Obviously, one of the things that you must never do is upload an image of a pupil. You could upload an image of yourself, that's absolutely fine. You could download an image from free to use websites like Pixabay, for example, and you could upload that image and ask it to make edits to it. So this is what you can do as a teacher. This is what you can do as a and you can give this maybe as a prompt, or you could generate this to include in your resources. So this could be the image that I start to use. All right. So again, it's never just getting started with the prompt. It's iterating. It's going into a bit more detail, and it's asking. Now that's the fun aspect to it, right? That is doing something that is considered to be, quite fun, quite interesting. However, our job is to obviously start to create resources for our learners, to share with our learners, and to give them introduction to content, context, lessons, topics, whatever it is we are doing. So this is where we go into a bit of detail, and I am going to do it based on my former role as a maths teacher. I'm going to create a lesson or an introduction to a lesson on a particular topic. So let's bring it up maps. I am a secondary maths teacher in Scotland. So there's my role. I am teaching S3 who are working towards level 3 in CFE. We are introducing Pythagoras theorem. Give me 3 examples to use as I introduce the topic. These learners are reading. Why is it when you're in a situation like this, your typing slows down to a crawl? Appropriate level. So if I just tap enter, you can see I've given it the constraints. Now what it does is it does this bit of humidification to it, which I don't know if I'm necessarily a huge fan of, because I think what it ends up doing is blowing a bit of smoke up our butts as educators. But it does this whole, it's great to meet a fellow educator. Calm down, Gemini. I'm the teacher. You're the tool. Let's remember that. But what it will say is it will go into little aspects of things that you might have to remember as a teacher. It's great to meet a fellow educator, blah, 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 blah. At this stage, the focus on recognizing the right angle triangle, identifying the hypotenuse, and understanding the relationship between the squares of the sides. Since they are reading at an age-appropriate level, we can use clear contextual problems that bridge a gap between abstract math and real-world application. Before diving into examples, so I could even ask it something like, what are some prerequisite questions I could ask them before showing them the topic? Okay, so this could even give me some ideas about the prerequisite knowledge that they might need to know. So for example, it might need to get them to identify the hypotenuse. And I could say, right, okay, so to understand 6 squared, 9 squared, square roots, basic substitution into formulas. Okay, that's something that they need to know. It's given me a little diagnostic table that I could come away with. And I could use a visual hook. And it even says, would you like me to create a 5-minute starter slide with these diagnostic questions formulated for a whiteboard? Yes, please. And include a visual diagram of a right angle triangle. So one of the things that we're obviously going to have to think about here is this is an LLM. This is a large language model that is using things based on the knowledge that is out there in the internet, the knowledge that is there. It doesn't mean that it's 100% accurate all the time. It's not going to be. You sometimes have to challenge it. You have to say to it, right, let me have a look here and see what I think. Okay, so there's one of the things. Squaring dollars, $12 squared. We don't work in dollars. So that's one of the, we do not work in dollars. Change the first question feel free to challenge it. Okay, so it says, there we go, right? Force a habit, right? Something like that. So it's given me this. Would you like me to provide the answers? Yes, and make this a diagram. So it's even given me the rubric that I can use. It's given me a few different things that I can go back to. And you can start to have this conversation going back and forth and sort of looking at it from this way. So what I would like you to do just for a second is go into Gemini and think of the next lesson you're about to teach or a topic you're about to teach. And for a couple of minutes, I want you to refine this role, context, task, and constraint. So go into Gemini, give it do this type of prompt. I'm a secondary maths teacher. Basically the level that you're teaching, the the sector you're teaching and the level, who you are, what you do, and maybe ask for an introduction to a topic, maybe one you've already done so that you can actually see how much detail it would go into. Give it an opportunity to iterate, give it an opportunity to go over. You'll see when I'm going through this, I'm making sure that everything looks as good as so I might still use this. This is not too bad, but you can see here that the formula is completely off. You can see that the labeling is completely off, so I'm not 100% happy with it, but I do quite like the questions at the side. And then I could just ask for a blank right angle triangle. What's quite good is it's got the spelling right, so that's okay. So I might ask it to, but you can even notice in this one, that's just a complete mess. So I might just ask it for, give me a simple right angle triangle diagram with the hypotenuse labeled. Now, obviously, this is going to be, it's not going to be quicker than drawing it. We do have that sort of advantage. But if this is a resource that we're starting to create that we're maybe going to put into Teams or put into Classroom, it's good that we have these diagrams kind of visualized. So there we go. That's still not great, but we can start to work on that. So what's that? That's 26 minutes past. Let's give it 10 minutes for you just to have a start. You might already have done stuff like this, but it's good to kind of work and sort of go through. Look at the context. So let me just switch back. So look at your prompt anatomy, how to actually break down a prompt. It's always a good idea to give it the role and the context. So the level you're teaching, the topic you're teaching, what you want it to do, what you want it be as. Don't go into too much detail at the start, but really try and kind of focus it. Because sometimes if you go into too much detail and you go left and right, and that's when Gemini can, I find that iterating in small chunks actually tends to produce the best results. So sometimes going back and actually saying, I am introducing blah, blah, blah to a group of S3 pupils. Give me 5 introductory questions. Something like that can usually work a bit better. So let's give that just until, we'll give it 13 minutes up until 22, and then we'll see how you get on with things and how things are looking. So go off and try and have a go at prompting. Feel free, if you've got anything that you need to ask, to pop it into the chat. Susan and myself will be able to answer you as best as possible. But if I can get just a show of thumbs up that people are feeling okay with that task that I've just set. Perfect. And feel free to drop into the chat if you need me to go over anything. Right. Put myself on mute, and I'll see you in a few. So at this stage, Mr. Gallagher, with the way that we work within the Glow and the Glow Access, what we tend to look at is when it creates a worksheet, we ask it to create the outline for the worksheet, and then we create a document and we copy and paste. Google Canvas can do this to an extent. So when you change the tool to Canvas and you ask to create a slide, for example, it will give you the text to copy and paste. So it doesn't even with access to Gmail and Google Workspace, Gemini can't produce a document. Right now, the limit of what it can produce is a slide. So even when I've been working with this, I need to copy and paste the text. I usually have just a docs window sitting as a separate tab, and then I just tend to copy and paste. So this is where you get more efficient as you do this, but as you start to get going with it, it does take a little bit of getting used to in that regard. So it can give you the outline, it can give you the text, and then it would just be a case of copy and pasting, but it won't actually produce a single document that saves into your drive. Hope that helps. Susan, is there anything to add to that?
I was just going to say that there's also alternative options in Google Classroom, so I'll pop a link in the chat.
Great answer. Thank you. So can I just check, Rona, what local authority are you in? Falkirk, you should be able to when you log into Glow, and you go. So when when you're logged into Glow, and you're on your Glow Launchpad, just like this. So making sure you're not logged into any, so if you're doing this where you're maybe logged in with your glow.scot, or you're maybe logged in, remember sometimes you might have to log in using an incognito tab, because sometimes the way that corporate, if you're on your corporate laptop, that can sometimes cause it. But if you log in with your Glow account, you should be able to access it, and that'll be the same on your iPads. So when you go to Glow on your Safari browser on your iPad and you log in, you should be able to get Gemini just in your Glow Launchpad, such as this. If not, it could be because you're logged in to your personal Glow account. Sorry, keep doing that. It's because they both start with G. It's because you're maybe logged into your personal Google account, and that can mix up the two. So you might actually have to. The way that everybody does it is you use your, so the Google account is slightly different. So as Mr. Gallagher's saying, the Google account is actually fa.glow.scot. Aberdeenshire is ads.glow.scot. So it's usually .glow.scot for the Google accounts. If you're unsure of what your Google account is at any point and you can't get it through the Launchpad, going up to your little profile button in the top corner, going to your profile, and down the bottom, so this is true for everybody, you will get your Google Workspace account. So you can see for mine, my normal account is .gov.uk, that's for my Microsoft, but for my Google account it's eds.glow.scot. So hopefully that helps. Folks, I'll give it just a couple of minutes and then we will come back. Mr. Gallagher, I'm just doing something very, very similar to you. I'll show you in a second here. Just an example one that I've been creating, just as you're talking about that coming through. So hopefully that's helped. In fact, I think what we'll do is we'll just, because we're talking and working at the same time, we'll bring it back. So I'm going to do a bit of double play here. I'm actually going to show you my role, and how I do things within my role, and then show you the example prompt that I've come up with. So one of the first questions I asked here was based on the situation that I'm currently in. So I am for lack of a better term, it doesn't know what an education officer is to a degree, but it probably knows education technology coaches, right? They're quite common wherever we're going, and that's what I'm doing. I'm teaching you, I'm coaching you about the use of technology in education. So education technology coach, that's my Ron Seal title. That does what it says on the tin. And what I'm doing right now is I am introducing Gemini to a group of Scottish teachers and looking at how we can use that within our classrooms. We have a mix of confidence. Some have used it, some have not. Give me an idea of some prompt examples I can use using the golden ratio, and I'm using this word risk instead of role this time. And I'll show you that in a second, because sometimes it's ensuring that we know that balance between how we deliver it and what we are delivering, right? So risk, not necessarily in the way you would think, right? It's not risk as in, the game where, you had to build up all of the different countries that you were taking over, that old game of Risk. It's not that one. It's your research and information skills. So it's low research and it's a good ratio to work with. And you can see Gemini is doing Gemini things, right? It's, basically blowing smoke up my rear end and telling me that I'm fantastic for the approach that I'm taking. Thanks. And that was the confidence boost that I needed today, because what I usually get from Susan is told that I'm not doing the task that I was meant to be doing, or sending me an email going, just checking in to see if you've had any further thought. Yes, Susan. Sorry, Susan. I'm just joking. Susan and I work well together. We are an uh, extremely good working relationship and friendship. So, for those of you who don't know, in case you think I'm being facetious, I'm not. I'm just being me. But as we are bringing things together, it's a good way, right? So it's saying, yes, here's this: hallucinations or bias. Okay, that's the other risk that we don't necessarily talk about. Now, you might have heard things about hallucinations and bias. That doesn't mean that Google Gemini imagines little birds flying above its head like Tweety. No, what it is doing is it's the Nelson Mandela effect for Google Gemini, right? That might help you understand what I mean by a hallucination. Remember, we all thought Nelson Mandela was dead. No, he was in prison. We have these things that we think are true that aren't actually true, and that's what Google Gemini can sometimes do. It can give you a false positive. It can tell you something, and because it says it with conviction, or it shares it, or you've used a bit of technology, the risk that we have is to look at something and go, that must be true. The other thing is bias. Remember, the data that is being used to train these models is coming from the most viewed sites based on what Google thinks. So we sometimes have to be a little bit receptive to that, and maybe realizing, okay, sometimes that might not show me. And this is mostly true when it comes to things like political aspects, but it will be based on the data. But it will also be based on the feedback that you give. So as we go down to the bottom of an output that we get, if we say good response or bad response, that's how something learns. If I say, well done, Gemini, that's the right type of answer. Or if I say, Gemini, we work in pounds in the UK, Gemini goes, oh, sorry, force of habit. It realizes that it's doing something, but it doesn't realize in the same way that we realize. We have to tell it what you've done there is a hallucination. You need to change that. So as we start to look at this, we could say, right, let's have a look at a few different prompts that we could make. So it's saying, right, there's my prompt. I'm a Scottish history specialist, so I might change that wording. So let's take this prompt. I'm going to copy and paste it. I'm going to show you just a few different things. So we have 4 prompt examples tailored for Scottish teachers. Now, what I also asked it to do was I said, give me a short passage that summarises the Scottish Wars of Independence suitable for a P6 class working towards level 2. Now, back to your point, Mr. Gallagher, about creating a worksheet. It's given me the outline for a worksheet here, but in order to use that, I have to go into a doc or into a Word document or into a Pages document. I have to create the file and then do something with it. So I am going to download this. So I'm going to download a PDF copy. It'll go into my downloads folder. And now in Gemini, I am going to I'm going to start a new conversation. I'm going to paste in my prompt. I'm going to reword this slightly. I am a Scottish primary teacher. What happened here? There we go, Scottish primary teacher. And I'm just going to refine this. Introducing the causes of the Scottish Wars of Independence. Please rewrite the attached summary into 3 versions. Suitable, right, okay, let's see what that might look like. So let's add a file. So let's upload a file that I've downloaded. There we go, tap open. You still see that okay, Susan? Just double checking. Yep. So I have taken the text. Now, this might be true within your subject area. Again, I wish I could go through every subject area, every permutation, every computation, everything, but I'm just trying to give you an idea of what we can do here. So here's a file that I've uploaded. It's a file that Gemini helped me create. I haven't checked it for accuracy yet. That's just a matter of the fact that I'm doing this for speed, not haste. Looking at how we can do this quickly. I have uploaded the file. I have given it a context. What I might actually say into 3 versions. Ensure all versions fit on one A4 page and avoid using any North American, right, terminology. And let's see, if I use that file, it's going to use that as reference. Let's put it through. In fact, let's change. Sometimes these come up, right? So I might just leave it as fast because they all work to the same. Never have to really worry about that. I do a little bit because I work through different aspects. So you could look at these and you could say, right, I'm actually getting it to solve a more complex problem. So let's change it to that. And let's submit. Okay, so it's going into a bit of deeper thinking. It's summarizing. It's taking the document. It will scan it. It sometimes works better with a PDF, right? So there are 3 summary texts that I have there. And then it gives me a follow-up. I could say create 3 separate differentiated questions for each of the levels. And I can just make sure I change my spelling. And again, I'm iterating. So I'm never just happy with one output. I'm never just happy with one answer. I want to go into a bit more detail. I want to take a bit more as I go through. So you can see I have a set of 3 questions that I could put at different levels. Now, obviously, we would never have P6, 7 and S3, 4, but we might have S3, 4 and higher. Okay, so we might have those age groups as we're coming through, especially as I'm introducing this at 3 different levels. I might even have this set for pupils that are coming up for a 2-day visit, for example. I know we might not necessarily be doing that, but those are a set of questions that I could then copy and paste and put into a Word document, put into a task within Microsoft Teams, put into Google Classroom, and actually bring all of them together the same way that Susan says you can do so via that link. So the point here is ensuring that anything that you're sharing, asking, using, iterating upon, make sure that you are defining exactly what it is you want to go into. Now, we can be really quick with some of these. You know, we could be really, really quick and simply say, give me an overview of what I can do with the free version of Google Gemini. Right, so I might be just wanting to know, what can I do? Right. So as of, it gives me general chat and intelligence, multimodal seeing here, creative tools, right? And I could say, give me a good create image prompt to use in a demo. Let's see what it uses here. Then I can get an image, a demo image coming up. So there's things that you can do that can help you learn separate things. So for example, even in your own professional development, let's go with this. I could say, I am wanting to learn Japanese. Outline what I would need to know as a starter and give me some conversation pieces I can use when I travel there. So what it can do here is it can give you, right? It can break things down, right? So again, you want to make sure that things can actually be suitable with what you're doing. But there's some standard greetings. So hello, good day, we get konnichiwa. What you could actually say is things like, let's copy that and say, how do I pronounce so there we go. It's given me onegaishimasu and how to break it down. So O as in over, ne as in net, gi as in guy, shi as in sheep, masu as it pronounced like mass. So o ni gai shi mas. There we go. That's how we can break things down, and we can start to look at that and how things. It doesn't quite do Klingon yet. It might do. I don't know. I haven't actually. My Klingon's quite good, so I don't have to learn that. But even starting to learn to code or look at languages or how to break something down, you can paste in code if you do computing science, and you could say, scan this for errors. Give me the aspect. So when we are prompting Gemini, we need to make sure that we are being as contextual as possible. Right? We actually need to say what it is we are trying to do. Think of what that end goal is. Don't just do the bog standard, create me an image of a dog dressed up like Donald Trump, for example. We're not wanting something like that. We can do things like that, and it is great that we have that creative aspect. But from a productive point of view, and from what we are actually trying to do with our learners and how we're trying to do things as a group, having the contextual, I am a Scottish secondary maths teacher. I am a Scottish secondary ELC, a Scottish ELC teacher. I am a Scottish primary teacher working with a group of learners. You could even paste in an E and O. You could paste in the outcome, and you could say, give me an idea of how I could break this lesson down for a group of learners who are struggling to understand the basics. And Gemini will sometimes it will give you that kick that you need to go, never thought about it that way, or that's a really good example. And again, it's thinking about this from an assistant point of view, right? As we differentiate for ourselves and as we differentiate with our learners, we can take the context and we could, or the content, and we could say, break this down into 3 separate examples. Give me one that works for age 8 pupils who are reading at a lower level. Take that 1,000 word points that I've got and break it down into 3 bullet points, and even get to say, create a glossary of terms that I can share, something key. So could be quite good for developing their literacy skills, and things like that can really start to do some of the heavy lifting, which is what we're trying to do here. We know that we're going to get a bit of efficiency here. We do have a bit of a paradox though. There are a few things that have happened in the world where, you know, the steam engine, for example, was introduced and it was supposed to give us less coal usage. What that did was, because the steam engine became more efficient, coal usage went up. LED lights, they were supposed to make use less electricity, but because they were cheaper to manufacture, cities adopted them. More LED lights were used, it went up. Using a tool like Gemini is supposed to give you time back, but there is a time cost at the start because you need to learn how to use it. You need to get more efficient at using it. And then the kicker is, the more efficient you get, the more you end up doing. So, you know, you can start to get some of that time back. I will say that from my point of view, as someone who would sit and go through and create a lot of content from scratch, Gemini has done a lot of that heavy lifting, and I will say that I'm a lot more efficient at producing content. These slides were produced using Gemini
This is
as a
gonna make me
starter.
save so much time
I
making
went through
worksheets
and I
and shit.
sorted it, and I just
Oh my God. I've never played about with AI stuff. No, never done it.
just going to mute. You there for a second, Fraser? I think that might have been Fraser sort of saying never played about with AI stuff, but hopefully that was a good thing we were saying. It is just, you know, we sometimes lean on our microphone. So as we're looking at this, we can start to bring things back, especially as we need to share content. So that was the task, and that's something that I'm going to get you guys to take away and do. If you grab a picture of this, or I'll share the slides with everybody who attends at the end of this. But that's something I would like you to have a go with, right? Ask for 3 creative ways, right? Generate a worksheet or a passage. Even get the rubric, right? How are you going to tell that your pupils have met those targets? And then show it to a colleague, show it to someone you know, and say, right, what do you think of this? And take it from that type of point of view. Ethics, main thing to remember is you are the teacher. AI is not the teacher. AI is another tool within your pencil case. Make sure if there is something for your, if you're especially working with certificate classes, make sure that there is an SQA context. Also make sure that the accuracy of the information that you've shared. And as we have always said, whenever you're working with anything in Glow, your data is private. Nothing that you share within Gemini is used to train the Gemini models. It is all done. We get the benefit of the Gemini models without training the models. However, don't ever upload an image of a pupil, and please don't ever share any names, dates of birth, address, none of that personal sensitive information stuff as you're coming through. So we have a cheat sheet for you. That's that first QR code. So if you have a device in front of you that you're able to scan, you can get that cheat sheet as it is coming up. I will drop that link into the chat as well. And we have the evaluation form that is there for you guys to just give us a bit of feedback, give me a bit of feedback, let me know if I waffled too long, if I didn't spend enough time. Also let me know how confident you're feeling now. Let us know how confident you're feeling, and just let us know what we can do next. There's time for questions. We've got a couple of minutes. I will make sure that, like, just give me a sec here. Okay. Need my context menu to come up. So any questions there? I know Susan has said in the chat that we are definitely loving to hear about some, we'd definitely love to hear, sorry, some information about how you are using it, some examples of how you are using it. That would be excellent to sort of see what you guys are doing. Come on. Here we go. So if you're feeling that there's something you want to share, please do so. Rona,
Hiya, can you hear me?
hello. I can, yes.
Yeah, aye. I'm just looking at, I noticed it when I was signing up as well, like on your feedback form.
Uh-huh.
Like I work in ASN,
Okay.
and you don't have that on your feedback form.
Right. Thank you very
So
much. I will put
because
that in.
I work in secondary, but I'm actually primary school trained.
Right.
So
Let me just
so
update
I
that
don't
right now.
actually fit in,
That's okay. That's
but that would be good.
so that form should have ASN on it now, and I'll make sure
Right.
that when we create the forms for doing the sign up, that the ASN is included. Thank you for that.
That's lovely. Thank you so much.
That's the first we've heard of that, so that's why we've
Uh-huh.
never changed it before now. So apologies
No.
for that. I really do
No, that's fine.
apologise.
But thank you so much.
No,
It's been
not
very
at all.
informative, Martin. Thank you.
No, you're very welcome. Thank you for that. I
Thank you.
appreciate it. So that is the form feedback there when you get a chance. And this is the cheat sheet my Google Drive was acting up. But those should be the two links that you need. But that's us. So if there's anything else that you're wanting to ask, please feel free. Otherwise, I am going to make sure to stop the recording. There we go.